Hello, everybody, and today I'm talking about Ted episode 2. Now there's two dads. So, this episode's about where Ted and Johnny have to deal with their bully. They're dealing with the typical, him trying to go after Johnny for no reason. Like when Johnny goes to the bathroom, Clyde just pushes him on the bathroom stall, and he gets pee everywhere, and then he's just doing it to bully him. And Ted tries to stand up, but he makes a joke about his mom, Clyde's mom, and then Ted gets dumped in the toilet. And what happens is the center of this episode is Ted and Johnny are gonna call Clyde and decide to prank call him to get back at them. So they're gonna pretend to be his dad. And Clyde is actually convinced this could be his dad. And he tells, the duo tells him to go to a restaurant and dress like a sailor and say, ahoy. And like it's meant to be funny. And the next day, the two go to a restaurant and of course Clyde shows up and he's looking nervous. And then Ted, I actually do like the scene where Ted and Johnny say they're gonna come up with like fake jobs, like they're gonna pretend businessmen, but then Ted goes to the a telephone and he calls the restaurant and is like, tell Clyde this, and the waitress does tell Clyde what his dad said, how he's a disappointment, and then Clyde actually cries and runs out of the restaurant. And then this, of course, makes Ted and Johnny feel bad. And so the next day, later that night, they try to call Clyde again and say they're sorry, but they're not going to confess it's them. Instead, he said that he's going to be at his birthday party. Well, no, he said he wouldn't at first. But Clyde also said he had a math test. And so Ted and Johnny are actually curious about if Clyde passed. And so at lunch, Johnny tries to go near Clyde just to see his test score. And it turns out he got a C+. But then the duo call him again and say how he did, and then he said, "Oh, I got a C+." But that's where he offers the birthday. But then Ted and Johnny feel guilty that they said no, he can't show up, and so Johnny and Ted go to a store and they try to shoplift an NES Sega with has Sonic on it. But then I do like the scene where Ted goes into like this. He hides into a jacket while Johnny's trying to walk, and Ted's like making him follow directions, but then he ends up crashing into a bunch of stuff, and then they get caught by the security guard, and he tries to ask them where their parents are. Johnny says, my parents are out of town. Ted says he doesn't have parents since he's a teddy bear, and that's a weird line to me. It's a weird nitpick, because I like I said, I was having trouble figuring out who the parents were, but anyway, we do get this sideline about the security guard. He actually didn't want to be a security guard. He wanted to be an actor, and he got to be in a play. And one of the actors for the play he was starring in, who was in the original version of the play, went up to him and said, "You are about to be a star." And then, I guess the security guard decides to let the two go. But Ted and Johnny are just bored by the conversation. But they bump into Clyde the next day at school, and they try to ask him about his dad, and then because they're so scared and intimidated by him, they even compare him to Charles Manson. They say like his dad's gonna be there, and so at his birthday party, and so Ted and Johnny have to go hire the actor from earlier, the security guard, to be their actor to talk to Clyde, but they're gonna pay him. But things go wrong as Clyde he first thinks it's the dad, but then the mom shows up and he's like, "This ain't your father." And then Clyde catches on what's going on, but it looks like he's about to crush Johnny and Ted. But Johnny tells him that we actually encouraged you to do well in school. Like we helped you get your grades up and stuff and confidence. And I guess that's what leads to Clyde having them on good terms, and he ends up hugging the two, even Ted. And even though I do like how the actor, the security guard, at least got to somewhat follow his dream, and so I can relate to his character because I myself want to be an actor for my future. But that's a little personal fact about me. But anyway, there was also this side plot where Johnny's dad has to get some kind of procedure, but he doesn't want to because he's afraid the doctors are going to find out his little secret. I couldn't find a photo for the parents, but basically he makes Belair hide under the table because he's too afraid about the secret that he can't even tell his own family. But it isn't until Belair is freaked out after the procedure because the doctors there are just like, whoa, or like kind of being douches or something. And then Belair forces Matt to confess what he did, that's making him all worried about his past coming to haunt him. And it turns out during his time in the war, he actually, I probably shouldn't say this on YouTube, but he did something a little to a dog. He didn't hurt it, but it turns out a dog was poisoned after getting an erection, and they didn't have enough time for medical to save the dog, and so Maddie saved the dog by and the family does freak out about it, but then once they realize what his intentions, they realize he did the right thing. So he only did it to save the dog, so that was something. It was a wild subplot for sure, but that's this episode. It was definitely an interesting episode. It shows Ted and Johnny having a change of heart towards that character Clyde, and I do like how they reconcile at the end. They're not enemies anymore. And we don't see Clyde again after this episode, but yeah, this was a good episode. I give it an 8 out of 10. I maybe had some nitpick, but it was overall a fun episode. So that being said, I can't wait to review the rest of Ted, the series. So that being said, thanks for watching, and see you guys next time.